I talk about TACA quite a bit on this show because I want people to know more about it and what a great organization it is. Tell us a little bit in your own words about what TACA is for you and how you got involved.
Well, you know, it goes all the way back to the very beginning. My son was diagnosed in 1999, and first thing I did was type autism into the Google and started reading, and everything I read was extremely depressing and horrifying, and I thought, oh my God, how is this 2.5-year-old going to navigate the world? How am I going to learn how to help him? And through all of it, I stumbled upon a description of somebody who had changed their child's diet, and that child sounded like my child, drinking tons of milk, eating nothing but crackers and cheese, and lots of allergies and eczema, and I thought, maybe this is something I can do. And through that, I joined a Yahoo group, GFCF Kids, gluten-free, casein-free is what that stands for, and we were all parents that were trying this diet and sharing information, like, because back 12 years ago, there wasn't the gluten-free aisle in the supermarket.
Yeah, no kidding.
It took me, the first time I went to the supermarket with my husband, it took us 2 hours. We're just reading all the labels. We had somebody babysit our kids, so we could we were just so overwhelmed. And these other parents became my lifeline because they were sharing information with me. And through that, Lisa Ackerman posted, I'm going to have a meeting in my living room, and she posts her address on the internet. And my husband and I were like, you know, let's go. These are people that are doing what we're doing. And at the time, we had actually been in something that was really helpful, which was almost like a grief counseling, if you will. And it was very good and very helpful. But after a while, we were both like, I don't want to go and sit and cry anymore. I want to find out what I need to do.
Yeah.
And when we drove all the way down to Orange County to Lisa's living room, I walked in the door and she hugged me. And I thought, oh, she must think I'm somebody she knows, you know? Like, wow. But then I realized that's just who she is.
Yeah.
And I realized that we were kind of comrades in arms. We were people that were on the same journey. And from that, and we went to the first gathering that became TACA eventually, Talk About Curing Autism, and that was 12 years ago. And the thrill of connecting with other families who understood what you were talking about and who could give you valuable information, it was profoundly affecting because it made, and that drive home, my husband said, this is what I want to do. I want to spend my time with people like this, people that are going to tell me, here's something you can do, here's something you can affect, here's change for you, an improvement for your child or whatever. And that was like just a complete turnaround for us, you know.
And I think it is for a lot of people. But I didn't realize that you were one of the people in the first living room. So that's so exciting. And it's gotten significantly bigger since then.
Yes.
It's not in somebody's living room anymore.
No.
It's really, you know, all across the United States, and you guys have started to go a little bit global, I think, haven't you? You've got some people who will write in from time to time.
We do. We have people that utilize our website from all over the world, and right now, in terms of chapters and mentoring and things like that, we on scholarships, we keep that to the United States because we're working our way. I mean, going national was a big leap for us, and there was a need, and it was fantastic. But boy, what a roller coaster ride!
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we now are focusing on just strengthening that. And I know we get a lot of people from Canada and Mexico and all over the place that are like, "Oh, can we open a TACA chapter?" And we're like, "Wait, you know, slow down. We're still trying to manage what we have." But the information on the website is there. It's free. It's available. You know, we want any family anywhere in the world to have that access.
Absolutely. And we talked about that website yesterday, but we should mention it again, www.tacanow, so tacanow.org.
.org, that's it.
Great website. And I gave a little tutorial yesterday on some of the places that I like to go on the website and recommend. But, you know, if there was one place on the website that you tend to people say, because it's a huge website with lots of information.
It is.
And you could really spend a great deal of time on there, and I encourage people to.
Yes.
But is there some place in particular on the website that you
Yes, there is actually. My favorite thing to send people to, and when I even have the link copied so I can just email it to people, is the Autism on a Budget series.
Ooh,
that
nice.
series of articles is fantastic, and they all kind of link to other resources, so it's a great way to start, because a lot of people are like, what? How am I going to pay for this?
Exactly.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And basically, we have all these who pays for what, like with the educational supports that you're supposed to be getting, and all these different therapies, and then also with this biomedical angle, like how do I get a doctor covered under my insurance? And you can't. It's difficult, but there are some things you can get covered under your insurance to help, reduce the overall cost.
Sure.
And that is great. And then also the gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free diet on a budget. And then we also have an article about doing the diet on food stamps, because that was a question we kept getting. I'm on food stamps. I can't afford this diet. And we all were like, gosh, how do you do that?
Sure.
And then we thought, well, how do you do that? And we had Holly Bortfeld is another great mom out in Pennsylvania. She put together a recipe collection for 30 days, 3 meals a day, family of 4, and gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free. And it ended up being, it's not organic, which would have, I think, blown the budget, but at least it meets those criteria, and it was $320.
Wow.
Of course, it requires a lot of cooking.
Yeah, sure.
From scratch.
Right.
So it's labor intensive in that sense, but it just makes families recognize it can be done.
Right.
And I even tell families that, that are not on food stamps, add one of those recipes into your repertoire, and it'll cut your food bill, because there's just cheaper ways to do things. And that was the thing and sharing that information makes it a little less overwhelming, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to look at that, because somebody was talking to me about my food budget the other day, and they didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, come shopping with me. Come shopping with me, and I'll show you what we buy and how expensive it is. And there's money to be spent on so many other things. So if there's a place that we can save money, really important.
Right.
One of the things that I love about you guys is that you help all of us so that we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel.
That's it, exactly. And that, I think, was the best thing about TACA, and continues to be, is that families now can hit the ground running. They can walk out of getting a diagnosis when they're basically told, good luck with that, move along. If they Google like I did, they'll find us, and they'll find all these suggestions of try this, read this book, here's this conference, try to go to this support group meeting, get a parent mentor, which is something we also provide.
Absolutely.
And that helps them at least prioritize, because ultimately, you mentioned the project management thing.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was the thing. My husband and I were thrown into the deep end with autism. We're like, what do we do? And my husband said, well, who's the expert that's going to tell us, here's the prescription, here's what you need to do for your kid. Your kid presents this way, so do A, B, C, D. And we need somebody to project manage that. And I'm like, I think that's us. Yeah. And that freaked me out, because I was not an expert on any of this. Yeah. And I mean, I met some fabulous professionals along the way who have helped me, but ultimately, it's my child and it's my family, and I need to figure out what works for my family and for my child. Yeah. And that, like I said, was a completely overwhelming task, but made easier by finding all those parents that I could connect with. So. Yeah,
I love that you guys have mentors. I think everybody needs to have some sort of buddy on this journey, somebody that you can go to, because even if it's as small as being someplace and somebody says something insensitive and you go, why doesn't everybody else get it? And being able to go and freely say that to somebody else, saying, somebody said this and it really cheesed me off, right?
Yes.
And have the person say, no, you're not crazy.
Yes, yeah.
You just are in a world that only this world gets it.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things I always tell parents, like, you must have the original friendships you had, because obviously that's your life and you want to maintain those connections, but your autism friends will become very important for that exact reason. They understand. You don't have to tell them what an IEP means. Right. You don't have to explain why it's so fantastic. I mean, I remember when my son lied to me for the first time. Oh. Yeah, exactly. An autism mom knows, oh my God, that's executive functioning.
Right,
this kid lied. Whereas my typical circle, friends were like, oh, and I'm like, no.
We're celebrating
I was like
today.
high-fiving all my autism friends, and it was great. So, I mean, it was neat. It was a neat thing, and I loved having that as a resource for me, and just learning about all the different things that are out there. Well, and you mentioned also if somebody says something negative to you, one of the things Lisa created, which I thought was brilliant, was our My Child Has Autism cards, and that is basically, my kid is not spoiled, he's not misbehaving, I'm not a bad parent, my child has autism, and it's a teachable moment, rather than ripping somebody's head off, which many of us would want to do. You can hand them the card and just say,
And in that way, you don't have to say in front of your child, he has autism, so cut him some slack. You're handing a card, which basically is that, read it, educate yourself.
And educate yourself, and recognize that this, not every tantruming kid is the result of bad parenting.
Absolutely. There's so many wonderful things that you guys have. And I was saying to you in the break that, part of what I wanted today to be meeting you and Holly, that we're going to have on in a few minutes, is to put a face on, because I think some people, now that TACA's gotten a little bit bigger than the living room, I think that some people get intimidated and feel like it's this group and I don't know if I fit in, and I want people personally to get over that thought and join, because there's no judgments. It's a place to be able to ask questions. But I think more than anything else, I subscribe to, in our group, you have a choice that I can do a daily digest. So I get an email every day to see all the questions and all the answers. It's like my little newspaper for the day that I get to read and look at. And I can't tell you how often I would look at it and think, okay, I don't even understand what this question is, but I would read the answer, and then I would realize, oh, this is a question I should be asking. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know to ask this question.
Right. You don't know what you don't know, right? I mean, exactly. And that's one of the things I think has been so valuable. And regarding the judgment issue, I know that families, we are judged so often for our parenting, even parenting of typical children. There's always somebody ready to tell you where you're doing it wrong. And so my philosophy and the philosophy of TACA is, we're not here to do that. We're here to present you with information. And honestly, I don't know your kid. I don't know your family. I don't know what to tell you what to do. All I can do is say, here's what I've done, and here's what helped my family. Maybe you want to read about it. Or if you want to embark, like, for example, on the diet, I'll help you do that. I'll help you figure that out. If you don't, I'm not going to judge you for that. It's not my business.
And every kid is different, and everybody's circumstances are different, and what everybody can handle is different.
Exactly. And I always say, like, look, if you at some point want to look into this diet later, come back to me. I'll be here. Because I don't want them to think, oh, she's going to judge me because I didn't try it. It's like, no, that's not what it's about. I don't have time for that.
Exactly.
We don't have time for that. We all have to pull together, and I want that kind of unity for us parents. Like I said, we tend to get beaten up right and left. There's plenty of people waiting in line to tell us where we're doing it wrong. We don't need to be another one.
Absolutely. And I just have to say that while you are a remarkable mom, and you really are, within the realm of TACA, it's filled with remarkable moms.
There's some incredible people. And I feel like that's been the blessing of this journey, is the people I've come in contact with and how amazing they are. And every day I think, wow, I've got these people in my life that I never otherwise would have had, and they've helped me in some way, and I'm thrilled to know that I've helped others, and that's such a blessing. But yes, my husband jokingly calls the TACA moms alpha moms.
Well, and I just heard myself say the remarkable moms, because there are, but there are also the remarkable dads too. We can't leave that out, and your husband is one of them.
Yes, he is, and dads are just different about how they handle it. Moms, we tend to pack together and let's all figure this out together, whereas dads tend to internalize it a little more. And that's one of the things I know we had talked earlier about. My husband and I had done a talk about marriage and autism, and our only expertise is that we're still married and we have a child with autism.
Well, that's some amazing expertise, I have to say, quite honestly.
It's what we learned, we shared, and what we learned is a lot from a lot of our mistakes. And I think one of the things he mentions is men tend to withdraw from a battle they perceive they can't win. And I think that was really profound for me, because all I could think of was hunker down around my child and make it better.
Right.
You know, whereas he was like, this is overwhelming and I don't even know where to begin. And they're telling me I'm not going to, I mean, a lot of the, at the time, even now, sometimes like the hope idea is not pushed out there that much. And so that was really helpful. And you're both mourning in a very different way. And it's hard to provide comfort for each other, but eventually you kind of have to lift up your head and recognize, you know, this is a team and we're going to do this together. And he's my partner and my support for all of this, and you know, in the trenches with me, and that has been fabulous, because I know that can be a struggle for you know, if one spouse is not particularly behind any type of therapy, or if one of the spouses just isn't recognizing that there is actually an issue. That's also a challenge.
Floating on that river in Egypt. Did not.